Hello everybody, welcome to my February reading wrap up. In this video I'm going to tell you all about the 9 books that I read in February. So 9 books, I'm very much pleased with that because, you know, it is the shortest month, even though this year we did have one day extra. But overall I'm very happy with the books that I read. I did a lot of rereads. I also finished some book series, or at least one book series, which is like so exciting because I almost never finish book series. And I actually did really well with my February TBR because usually I'm not the best with TBRs, but this time around I actually really read most of the books that were on my TBR, so I'm proud of myself, very happy with that. And yeah, let's just get moving on to all my reviews of the books that I've read this month. I have a couple of very interesting ones and yeah, I hope you enjoyed to watch it. First book was The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. You probably know how I feel about this book if you have watched some of my videos. This is one of my all-time favorite books. I love it so much. This book is all about an actress named Evelyn Hugo who was like very famous during the 1950s and 1960s. In present day she is telling her life's story to a journalist named Monique Grant, and one of the most well-known facts about Evelyn Hugo is that she was married 7 times. I did a reread with listening to the audiobook. It is my 3rd time reading this one. I just loved it so much again. I really craved one of my favorite stories and I think I can never get enough of this book. It is so beautiful and Evelyn is such a raw and realistic character. She's not perfect by any means, but that's what makes it so interesting to read about her. I love the writing style, I love all the characters, I love how many emotions this book gives you, and I just can never get enough of reading this one. I'm pretty sure I'm going to read it at least once a year now because it is just so amazing, and yeah, I loved it very, very much. And then next up, another reread. I did say there were a lot of rereads this month, but that was my reread of The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. I was reading this one as part of the Hunger Games read-along in which I'm participating, which is all about reading the entire Hunger Games series again in preparation of the prequel coming out in May, I believe. So I reread The Hunger Games for the first time in a year and a half. Like, it felt so much longer ago, but actually it was only a year and a half. But I loved it so much. I mean, that is no surprise because I always love The Hunger Games, but this time around I sort of enjoyed it even more than usual. Like, I was devouring the story, I was craving it so much. I had the best time being there again. I mean, not technically the best time as in like the characters don't always have the best time, but as a reader it was an amazing experience. Like, this reread really reminded me why I love this book series and this book so much. I will say though that The Hunger Games, like the first book in the series, is my favorite out of the entire series. With good reason, I discovered again with this reread. It's just so amazing. It holds up so well even though it has been around for quite a while now. It ages so well, it is still so relevant with all the themes and the things that are happening, and oh, it's just beautiful. This time I read the physical copy, but the time before that I listened to the audiobook, which I can also very much recommend because the audiobook is also great. And I do really love to have like a new experience with my all-time favorite books like The Hunger Games. And if you want to listen to the audiobook, down below I do have a link to audiobooks.com in which you can do a free trial period, and with that free trial period you get 2 free audiobooks. So you can always give that a try if you want to do a reread for yourself of The Hunger Games or do a first read, because like this book is so amazing. I can recommend it so much. It's just oh, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, in conclusion, I think it's safe to say that I really love The Hunger Games, and of course I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Then after that I finished Dreams of Gods and Monsters by Laini Taylor. I read this entire book during the basically readathon, or at least the biggest part of the entire book. A link to the reading vlog down below in the description box if you want to experience me reading the book for the first time. But yeah, this is the book series that I finished this month. Finally finished the Daughter of Smoke and Bone series. This is a fantasy series. It's about a girl named Karou who sort of lives in the real world but also has connections to a sort of magical world with chimera, and yeah, there's a lot going on. And Dreams of Gods and Monsters, yeah, just as with the first books, the writing style is gorgeous and beautiful. The characters are still very interesting, but sometimes this book was very weirdly paced, and like there were times that it was quite boring and dragged out, and then there were times that it was like amazing and so interesting, so I felt a bit mixed about it in the end. And talking about the end, I didn't like the end all that much. It was just like the final 100 pages didn't do it for me. I didn't feel like they needed to be there. And overall I was just a bit not completely sure about it. I think it was definitely my least favorite out of the entire series, which is sad because overall I do really enjoy Laini Taylor and I think she does write beautiful stories. So I feel like this story in general was still beautiful, but the execution wasn't the best. And it could have been better paced, it could have been a bit different, I don't know. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars in the end because I wasn't completely sure about it and it made me a bit sad. Because I do really enjoy the series overall still. Just the final part is not a final part of a series that I enjoy. I think the first book is still my favorite and I also really love Strange Dreamer and everything. But this one I think so far is my least favorite Laini Taylor book that I've read. Yeah, 3 stars. Then I also finished the Guinevere Deception by Kirsten White as part of the Mid Takes Reads book club. I will leave links to that down below and to the Hunger Games read along also down below in the description box again. But the Guinevere Deception is a retelling of the King Arthur legend. This one is told from the perspective of Guinevere, but she is actually a changeling. She is not the real Guinevere. She goes to Camelot to marry King Arthur, but she actually has a secret mission and yeah, it's just there's a lot going on. I enjoyed this book so much more than I thought I would because my expectations weren't necessarily high or anything. But when I read it, I had a really good time with the story. I actually really enjoyed reading this and yeah, I just had a good time. It was very entertaining even though the story overall is pretty basic. I guess that's the best description. Sometimes it is quite basic, like yeah, maybe sort of bland but not in a bad way I guess, because I didn't really crave a very difficult book after Dreams of Gods and Monsters, so this one was just perfect for me at the time. I do like how they build up the characters even though the book didn't have that much time, but I still think it did a pretty good job of making you care about them and everything. It was just fun. It's not like a new all-time favorite, but I had a pretty good time reading it. I guess this one works best if your expectations aren't too high, because if you're expecting a very complex and intriguing retelling, that's not it, but it is entertaining and sometimes you just need that. A book that is simply entertaining, yeah, and just like overall I didn't have any deep thoughts about it, but I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars and yeah, it was good. I had a good time. Then next up, I finally finished the Mime Order by Samantha Shannon. I had been reading this book for quite a while, or like a month or so, but I finally finished it and yeah, it was definitely an experience. This is the second book in the Bone Season series, which is a futuristic series in sort of like an alternate universe of our world. And in this version of our world, people are clairvoyant, or at least some people are clairvoyant, but it is illegal and they are very much shunned and punished, like they are not very welcome in society. Our main character Paige is a clairvoyant and she is active in like the underground criminal scene of London, and then there's also a lot more to this world that I didn't really expect. Very hard to explain because there's so much more to this story, even with just the first 2 books, than just that. Like there's a lot going on, but with the Mime Order, I finally read it and I did really enjoy it. I will say though, the first half was okay, but sometimes a bit boring, not the best. I sort of had to get into it. I wasn't completely grabbed by the story straight away. But then from the midpoint onwards, it got so exciting and so intriguing and I was completely here for it. Like it was an adventure and I really loved it. And then the ending just, wow. Really, really good. I love the ending. I love it when books have a good ending. That really makes up for a lot, I think. So in summary, the first half wasn't bad. It was okay. It was fine. But then the second half was, yeah, amazing. I loved it so much. I love Paige as the main character. She's so interesting and intriguing and yeah, sort of like, I guess, different than the basic YA main character, even though I don't think this is YA, by the way. I'm not completely sure. Maybe it's adult. And I love the concept and the world building. It's very well done and you really feel like you're there, and it's just, there are so many characters again, but they are all interesting and it's also pretty brutal at times, but I like that. And then again, the ending. Like a good ending really means a lot to me. Yeah, I don't know, it's just I really loved it and I had a really good experience reading it. I will say though, like I like the setting of the first book a bit better. It's hard to explain if you haven't read them, but yeah, it was still like, yeah, overall I'm really digging this series. I want to read the 3rd book very soon. And I actually heard that like the title of the 4th book is coming out really soon. Maybe it's already there when this video goes online. I'm not sure. But yeah, I'm really here for this series. I'm really enjoying it and I think I might finish it when all these 7 books are out, which still is going to be a long time, but I do really like the story and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Then I read an entire series. It was a reread, but I listened to the audiobooks of the entire Infernal Devices series by Cassandra Sandra Clare, which is all about Shadowhunters, and this one takes place in Victorian England. It's about a girl named Tessa Gray and two Shadowhunters named Will and Jem. Yeah, I think like the synopsis is probably very well known to most people. Yeah, I've read this series before and like twice before, and it is really enjoyable. I love it very much. I love the Shadowhunter world and the books. And of course I read these ones in preparation of Chain of Gold, which comes out in March, and this is like the original series or like the first series, and then Chain of Gold and the Lost Hours is going to be a sequel to this. So it was very nice to have these stories fresh in my mind, or like this story. And yeah, I had a really good time rereading this through the audiobook. It was my first time listening to the audiobooks. I really enjoyed them. They were well narrated. I had a good time listening to them, and I'm so happy that I've read them again. And in any case, like if you want to hear more about all the Shadowhunter books and my reviews of them and my ranking of them, I have an entire video about that if you're interested. So if you want to see my Shadowhunter books ranking and reviews, down below in the description box there's a link. I hope you might enjoy that, and then you can hear more about all my thoughts on all the books. And so excited for Chain of Gold, like oh, it's going to be amazing. And then in the same category I also read or reread the Ghosts of the Shadowhunter Market bind up of short stories, again as a preparation for Chain of Gold. Same thoughts, very enjoyable. The last two stories I hadn't read yet, and they were very cute and nice and everything. And yeah, I really love this book as well. It's just like I can be very basic about it because yeah, there's not much to tell about it apart from that. They are very interesting, and I do like how these stories are actually important for the main series and how they contain very important information and such. And there is so much cuteness in them about our favorite characters. So if you love that, then you will love these bind-ups. Like if you read the Shadowhunter books, don't forget about the bind-ups and like Tales of the Shadowhunter Academy, because you will love them. They are so cute and they are actually really beneficial to the entire series, and I really love them. Again, like this one is 4 out of 5 stars. Like the entire Infernal Devices I usually give 5 out of 5 stars. And then this was it for my February reading wrap up. A pretty good month, like a lot of rereads. I hadn't really realized how many rereads I had done until I sat down to film this wrap up, but they were good rereads. I have no regrets about them whatsoever. I do really love rereading my favorite books. And yeah, what else can I say? I hope that March is going to be just as amazing. I'm sure it will be. I have many exciting reading plans. If you want to see my TBR, again, link down below. I do so much self-promo in like my videos, but you know, it's my own channel, so I can do whatever I want. But this is it then for this video, and I really hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, maybe go subscribe or give it a thumbs up, or you know, whatever you want. If you're interested, I would always really appreciate that. Please let me know down in the comments your favorite book that you read in February. Maybe it was a reread, maybe a new read. And yeah, I would love to know. Just let me know what you really enjoyed reading this month. And then hopefully I will see you again very soon in my next video. Bye!